The UK government passes a Forced Vaccination Act, which means that the citizens of the UK will be subjected towards forced vaccinations. What's up, guys? My name is Jesse Perez Casanova, and you've just tuned into the Casanova Show. And in today's episode, we're going to be exploring the amendments that have taken place on this Forced Vaccination Act and the mandatory vaccinations that unfortunately will be taking place in the UK. For those of you that aren't British, I definitely recommend that you watch this, and the reason I recommend that you watch this is because this is sort of a template of what might also be happening in your country, which is extremely scary. I really hope that it isn't. I really hope that they aren't going to be forcing vaccinations throughout the world, but it really seems as though that's what they want to do. If you're looking at Bill Gates is all about this idea of vaccinating all 7 billion people on this planet, which is extremely scary, and not only vaccinating them or giving them the choice to be vaccinated, but forcing those vaccinations upon them. So the first thing that I noticed in this document was that the first thing it speaks about, obviously, is contamination and who this act actually refers to. But I found it very strange that it actually refers to not only disease, but radiation. And immediately this made me think of 5G. Because why is it that the only place that this appears in this document is when they're actually defining what it means to be contaminated, and they're actually referring to radiation? This makes absolutely no sense, because why now all of a sudden is the term radiation being used and actually being provisioned within this act? So I'm going to essentially summarize this act for you. And essentially what it says is that the UK government is permitted to arrest you off the street, arrest you in your home, arrest you in your place of work, without you even having any warning that they're going to do that, and without them needing to let anyone know that you've been arrested. And they're allowed to detain you, they're allowed to put you in quarantine, isolate you, without anybody knowing. They're not only allowed to arrest you, but they're also allowed to go ahead and they're allowed to arrest anyone that's come into contact with you, or anyone that's come into contact with any of your possessions. They're also allowed to destroy your premises, destroy your house, destroy your place of work, and they're allowed to stop you from working. They're allowed to subject any of the things within this act on you if they think you may be contaminated, or they understand that you are contaminated. Now this gets a little bit scary, because what this means is that, you know, if you go into it, it actually speaks about what will happen to within regards to your things, what will happen within regards to your premises. And what it says is that anyone that's come into contact with you, or anyone that's come into contact with your premises, or anyone that's come into contact with any of the things you own, whether somebody's come into your house or anything, they're not only allowed to actually confiscate and destroy anything you own, but they're also allowed to arrest anyone that's come into contact with any of those things. And another scary, crazy thing here is that they're actually allowed to destroy your premises. So they're allowed to destroy your home and destroy your place of work, which is absolutely scary. And this is just if they think you have it. It says here that a person that may be infected, so they don't even need to actually have any proof that you're infected to be able to enact any of these laws on you, which is extremely scary, because all of a sudden, if they have a suspicion that you may be contaminated without any proof whatsoever, they're allowed to snatch you off the street, snatch you from your house. They're allowed to arrest you without anybody knowing, without you even knowing where it is exactly that you're going, because they're going to take you to whatever medical facilities they feel necessary. And this is just extremely scary. I mean, just imagine it. Just imagine being snatched out of nowhere. And they're allowed to literally force a vaccination on you if they think that you're contaminated, or they have proof that you're contaminated.
Shit, bro. I asked for a lawyer, brother. I can't do that. Am I under arrest? Am I under arrest?
No, not under arrest.
Well, how can you force me to do something? How do you know I'm sick? You haven't even done a test on me. Don't not mess with me, y'all. Please.
Come on, James.
Please, I'm asking you. I'm begging you, brother.
I know,
Black man, I'm begging you, bro.
I'm
begging you, bro. Please leave me alone.
Come on, James.
It don't work like that, man. This shit ain't right, man.
You know, the sad thing is that they, like any legal document, they make it so complicated for you to understand what's being said in this act in the most complicated manner ever. Basically says that if they think you may be contaminated or you are contaminated, that you will be subjected towards a mandatory vaccination. It doesn't say it in those exact words, but it basically says it. It basically says that any person, la-di-da-di-da, will be subjected towards medical treatments, and anyone that refuses that medical treatment will be actually breaking the law. Any willful obstruction of you receiving a vaccine or someone else receiving a vaccine will actually be registered as a criminal offense. And I'm also going to go ahead and guess that this means that if you're going out and actually promoting anti-vaccination information, that can also be considered as willful obstruction, and therefore they can go ahead and arrest you, and considering this document, probably go ahead and actually enforce vaccination on you, mandatory vaccination. And what I understand is that this document is not temporary. It's basically permanent. They can detain you indefinitely, which is extremely scary, and the only person that will ever be allowed to actually, release you or decide your freedom is a judge at that point. And the judge will actually also have to refer to this act that's been put in place. Another scary thing is that you can't take the health authorities to court. So no matter how rich you are, no matter how much money you have, you cannot even dispute any of this. This is so scary because it's a direct violation of your constitutional rights. And this is extremely, extremely scary because it literally means that there's no such thing as a government in the UK, because you, the people, cannot actually determine what is acceptable and what isn't. And they're literally giving themselves godship authority over you, which is extremely scary. These laws do not affect the royal family. How convenient. They only affect the normal people. This is also scary because, this could also prevent the public from doing independent research to at least make sure that the vaccinations are safe. If you do your research into vaccinations, you'll find that it is extremely scary in the sense that a lot of the stuff in them have been proven to be extremely dangerous. So much so that Facebook last year had been taken to Congress, and they had made an extremely significant point that showed that they had an extremely huge fund for people that had been damaged by vaccinations, and the majority of that fund had actually been used up, which is crazy. I mean, there's no other empirical evidence that suggests that vaccines are dangerous other than the fact that the government had actually had to pay out people for damages caused by the vaccination.
Facebook announcing it's taking steps to combat vaccine information, anti-vaccine information on its platform, saying if vaccine hoaxes appear on Facebook, we will take action against them. For example, if a group or page admin posts this vaccine misinformation, we will exclude the entire group or page from recommendations.
In recognition of the uncertainties, the risk of vaccinations, the federal government has created a vaccination trust fund that has paid out over $4 billion to compensate those who have been injured by vaccinations. Are you 100% confident that vaccines pose no injury to any person on this planet?
Congressman, I don't think it would be possible for anyone to be 100% confident, but my understanding of the scientific consensus is that it is important that people get their vaccines.
But you said your platform, you believe in giving people a voice. Shouldn't somebody have the opportunity to express an opinion different from yours? I mean, over $4 billion has been paid out by the fund. Over thousands of people. Don't you think people should be able to have information to make an informed choice?
So look, I'm all for medical advancements. I'm all for medical research. And hey, if the vaccine's safe, sure, give it to the people. But at the end of the day, the people need to always be able to decide whether or not they want a vaccination. Because the moment that you say to someone that they have no right to decide what goes into their body is the moment that you own that person. It's the moment that the government owns you. I think the choice should always be on the table, and the fact that the UK government has gone ahead and literally legally taken the choice off the table is extremely scary. This, my friends, is quite simply the illusion of freedom. And this is the cabal, this is the New World Order. These are the bad people running the planet, enacting their agenda. But the fact that the people were not given the right to decide whether or not that this is appropriate or not, it just means that there's no such thing as democracy, especially in the United Kingdom. And the fact that radiation was actually mentioned here is so ridiculous. It means that if 5G is linked to physical health or damage, they can go ahead and vaccinate you. They can go ahead and detain you.
5G on top of this lamppost. That thing up there has been working for about 2 or 3 months. And it's virtually killed this Leylander. Look at the size of it.
Right, well look at the right hand side of the tree, look at the flower, look at the bushes. Look at the green bushes, yeah. Very nice. Look at the left hand side. Dead. Do you know why? Because that's right next to it.
Going through fish ponds in Bristol, and listen to that meter. They put a brand new transmitter right in the middle of the street here, and people coming up and down this road are getting absolutely hammered.
They can literally go ahead, they can detain you, they can detain all your family, anyone that's come into contact with you, anyone that's come into contact with you at work, anyone that's come into contact with anything you own, anyone that's come into your house. They can go ahead and detain everyone and everyone connected to all those people. So you see what's happening here is that they're literally going to have the right to detain anyone that does not want to just go ahead to the hospital once they have this vaccination and say, you know, I want a vaccination. Because I'm guessing this is why they're doing this, because there are people that are going to go ahead and be like, yes, please give me the vaccination. But this act is put in place to be able to execute legal authority over people that refuse vaccinations. And this is just damn scary. I mean, this is just Nazi Germany revised, more contemporary, more discreet, but it's extremely scary. It's so important that we actually really, really highly regard the freedoms that we have been afforded, which are actually unfortunately being taken away from us. Not only has there been attacks on freedom of speech, but now there are being attacks on your own individual sovereignty, your own right to have authority over what goes into your body. This is terrible. This is a direct attack on our freedom, on our constitutional rights. And I'm a South African, but I had to cover this story because I really hope my country doesn't do this. And if they do this, my man, let me explain something to you. You're not gonna force me to take a fucking vaccine. I would rather fucking die fighting. I mean, at the end of the day, guys, this is a disease that has such a high survival rate. You're talking like 99.99999%. I'm gonna go ahead and tell you that this is population control. They are literally using this as an excuse to go ahead and pump some filthy ass shit into human genetics and to literally control human genetics. Who knows, maybe to make us infertile, maybe to make us more susceptible towards illness and disease. I really wouldn't be surprised. These agendas are being put in place by some really fucking evil people. I don't trust the British government, I don't trust the royal family. And I guarantee you right now that there are some evil fucking billionaire psychopaths that are running the world, that are determining these agendas with money that you cannot even care to believe that exists. These people do exist. And not only are they putting these agendas, but they warned us about these agendas years in advance. Not only did Bill Gates, that fucking human piece of walking garbage, tell us that all this was going to happen.
Bill Gates has helped to fight AIDS, tuberculosis, and malaria. Well, today at the World Economic Forum in Davos, Switzerland, he announced that his project called CEPI, or the Coalition for Epidemic Preparedness Innovations, has $460 million. He sat down with CBS News to talk about how that money will go to preparing for the next great epidemic.
The idea is to take a new way of building vaccines that could let us develop in less than a year a novel vaccine. They're called DNA RNA vaccines, and so we'll fund a few projects to build specific vaccines, but not only will we get that, we'll prove out that these platforms can work, we'll understand the regulatory issues, and it gives us a chance of being able to respond in time.
He's one of the few people that stand to make so much money from this, so much so that he could potentially become a trillionaire. I'm going to go ahead and say it. Satanists around the world dark occultists run the world. Maybe Satanism isn't the right word, but the point is that people that practice a secret religion that is very fucked up and that really just wants them to enact as much control over each individual as possible. They run the world, and they've been warning us about this shit for ages. I don't know if you know anything about media and occultism and symbology, but the whole point of these dark occultists putting this symbology and almost like this forewarning, warning us of what it is that they're doing into their movies and stuff, is so that they can essentially warn us of what it is that they're doing. And if we do nothing about it, if we just see what it is that they're showing us in media and movies and we don't believe it and we do nothing about it, then apparently it provides them a loophole, a karmic loophole, because the universe has something known as universal free will. And if you mess with someone's free will, then you will have to deal with the karmic repercussions. Utopia is literally about this network, this shadow network. They want to depopulate the planet by 90%, which is absolutely ridiculous. And the way in which they wanted to do that is fake a pandemic and get everyone to get vaccinated, and for these vaccines to basically make humans infertile. But in order to do that, they needed to release a flu virus, and the flu virus would kill supposedly tens of millions of people, and then the people would essentially demand a vaccine. And once the people demand the vaccine and they take the vaccine, then they would become infertile, and 9 out of 10 people would not be able to reproduce, and that would subsequently theoretically reduce the world's population by 90%. This was literally a UK series, and when I watched this, it was so sickening. It's the most evil series I've ever watched, and I'm telling you right now that some evil satanic motherfuckers made this shit, and it's all part of their dark occultic black magic. They have to tell us what they're doing, and if we do nothing about it, then we are too stupid, and that they deserve to be able to do all the shit that they're doing to us right now. When you look at all this, you really come to a stark conclusion that this pandemic is absolute bullshit. I mean, at the end of the day, Bill Gates, well, he's the biggest funder of the World Health Organization, and he had actually pressured them to declare this a global emergency, which they were initially very reluctant to do until he had given them some more money. And basically, like the next day, they had gone ahead and declared it a global pandemic. And this is ridiculous. I mean, it's absolutely ridiculous. There are big higher agendas at play here. So guys, if you enjoyed that video, please do me a favor. I want you to subscribe to my channel, and please hit the bell notification button so that you'll be one of the first people to receive a notification as soon as I drop my next video trying to create awareness. If you don't know the point of this whole channel, the point of this channel is to spread love and peace in the form of wisdom and knowledge and truth, even if that truth is uncomfortable. That is the whole point of this channel. So please do me a favor, subscribe, like, and please comment on what you think about this. If you're in the UK, especially comment on what you think about this. You know, I stand in solidarity with you guys. I mean, this is really ridiculous, really scary. And for those of you around the world, if you can comment on any advice on what to do if something like this happens. And yeah, that's basically it from me. Thank you guys so much. I'll see you soon.